Good. How about y'all?
Say, Blake, were you getting somebody else in the image there?
Is that Mrs. Blake?
Yeah.
Miss Bourboner?
It's okay. Come on back in. You can swap out for one night.
Don't put me on here.
Do you ever go out in public and are they like, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Bourboner, how are you?"
Yeah.
This episode of Bourbon Pursuit is made possible through listeners like you, supported through Patreon. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode featuring a fan favorite, the Bourbon Community Roundtable. Now before we kick it off, just to give you a little bit of update and some news, as I mentioned last week, we are going to be a part of the Bourbon and Beyond Festival. So if you haven't started looking at the announcement for bands are going to be happening next week. So make sure you go and check out bourbonandbeyond.com and you can go and you're going to be able to see all the bands that are coming to town. If you are looking to support the show, you're kind of on the fence about it, now's a good time to do it. We have updated all our reward levels inside of Patreon so you can see at what levels you can get t-shirts, koozies, stickers, bottle totes, access to barrel picks, and more. And speaking of barrel picks, we're working on it right now, trying to get some more lined up. But, you know, we're just kind of taking them as they come. It's nothing that we're really hunting out for. But, you know, we've been fortunate enough to have 2 more lined up for this year already. And on today's show, we're going to hit sort of a hodgepodge of topics, right? We're going to be talking a little bit about, you know, MGP versus Tennessee bourbon and how do people really react to it because it's technically not Kentucky, and how do people react because they know they like MGP, but now we're seeing all this Tennessee stuff come out. So we'll see what that looks like. We're also going to touch on the new W.L. Weller Create Your Own Bourbon, or the CYPB release. And we're going to kind of give, you know, some more insight into what that really means. And we're also going to hit on the latest news to actually come out, and that's Kentucky passing House Bill 400, which now allows shipping. And as usual, we're going to give our thoughts, commentary, and speculations going into it. Thank you for everybody that was able to join live and create a little bit more dynamic, ask your questions, and we could be able to see and hear your answers through this as well as those funny, witty comments that always happen too. Make sure you're following and subscribing to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're also making sure you are subscribing on iTunes, YouTube, all those great different places. You know, we post videos to YouTube and Facebook. We've got audio that go through iTunes or your favorite podcasting mechanism. So make sure you go and check that out. And if you want every single new episode beamed straight to your inbox so you can sit there and you can say, I'm the first one to get it, make sure you go to bourbonpursuit.com, scroll down a little bit, sign yourself up for the email, and go ahead and get yourself subscribed. With that, enjoy this week's episode. Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of bourbon. This is the 19th edition of the Bourbon Community Roundtable, and as always, it's a fan favorite. It's happening on YouTube Live. We've got about 32 viewers that are watching in the chat, asking some questions. We need some questions. You know, we're going to have a good discussion. We were just talking a little bit earlier about how it doesn't seem like it's really always hard to get to an hour, but sometimes when you have the right questions, it can last an hour. So right now we've got a great lineup, and we should have premium quality audio up until the point Carrie ever interrupts us, because at this point everybody has good microphones. So awesome.
Yeah, it only took 3 years for Kenny to get his co-host a good microphone. You know, he's like,
because heaven forbid you go on Amazon Prime Day and just
I'm not spending money out of my pocket.
Probably
take it out of the petty cash.
Yeah, take it out of that petty cash fund. Bourbon Pursuit, I know, has that slush fund sitting somewhere.
That's right. So how do I sound? Like 10 times better? 10x?
At least.
Yeah, I thought it was a different host. I didn't even think it was. I didn't even recognize your voice without it being muffled.
Awesome.
Next is we're going to work on campus for everybody. That's gonna be the next one, right?
Yeah, that'll be next 2 years.
Yeah. These $50 cameras, man. Budget's tight. Okay.
That's right.
So Ryan, how's it going, man? I see we both got identical shirts on tonight.
Yes, we got the new swag on. Kenny did a great job. We hired a new designer to get this new logo and everything, so people will be getting it soon. We got the hats, the shirts, the koozies, the bottle carriers. So we got tons of cool swag now. I like the new logo.
It looks great.
It is good, and I'm glad some of the people here on the roundtable already kind of got some of theirs during shipment. I know Breaking Bourbon's still waiting on theirs to come in. Jordan will be swinging by Louisville here in a few weeks to come and snag up all his bottles and his swag too.
Big booze run.
Big booze run.
Yeah. No offense to you, Kenny, but this designer was way better than you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm gonna go ahead and just bury my hat in the sand and say there's just no way I'm ever gonna design a logo or try graphic design ever again. But with that, I want to go ahead and introduce everybody that's on the roundtable tonight. So we've already talked about Jordan, so you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. This is Jordan from BreakingBourbon.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Breaking Bourbon. You can also find us on Patreon, and we do a almost near daily release calendar update. So if you want to see some of those, hop on the website or sign up for a newsletter.
Is it getting that time of the year again where updates are coming in almost daily?
Not for the special releases, but we've been adding a lot of smaller distillers, and there's been some surprise announcements coming out too. So I saw someone asked about that Buffalo Trace, the new Weller that's coming out, and all some surprise announcements. So yeah, we've been doing a multiple times a week.
The next Bourbon pick at Buffalo Trace, is that what
yeah, brown M&Ms is being added as we speak.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. Like when you're talking about in regards of smaller distillers, what are you adding to the list there? Because I'm kind of curious, because most of the time, I mean, let's be honest, people were like, when's BTAC hit? Because that's pretty much.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. So, and I think I saw Blake on about all that too, right? That Doc 52s. So that was a really interesting story. So that's a liquor store that then decided to start sourcing their own bourbon and their own brand, and they just had their first release. So, they reached out, they sent a bottle to sample and review, and just really interesting things like that catch your eye. We try and put everything up there that we see. Clearly, when there's lots of smaller people out there, it gets a little bit more difficult, but there's still a lot of interesting stuff coming out, and people tend to forget that. Sometimes it's just, oh, what's going to be the fall releases, and that's all they care about. But really, there's a ton of stuff, and it's always interesting too, because we do get a lot of emails from a lot of folks that are using that release calendar to find stuff. And it's not just during the fall. They'll use it all year round, or they'll get really excited about stuff. So it's good to see more and more just people get excited about non-special releases. And probably a lot of that too is people have no way in finding a lot of these special releases, right? So they have to get excited about more of the everyday stuff, more of the unique stuff.
I just thought of a topic whenever we get through everybody. So
yeah, I'm writing it down right now. I got you, Ryan. We're on the same page, buddy.
All right, gotcha. Proceed.
All right, Blake, go ahead. You give us a little introduction about yourself as well.
Yep, I'm Blake from Bourbonr. You can find me at bourbonr.com/blog, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And, I was getting a little jealous of everyone's, self-promotion of their swag. So, yes, this is a new Bourbonr hat that I'm wearing. Look for those soon as well. Like some recently announced Buffalo Trace products, they'll be releasing at $2,500 a hat. So, it's kind of a deal. But no, you can find me at all the social medias, and then if you can't find me there, bourbonr.com/blog.
And Brian, go ahead and round it out for us, buddy.
All right. Thanks again. This is Brian with Sippin' Corn. You can find me. My blog is Sippin' Corn as a Google blog spot, and mostly Twitter at Sippin' Corn, a little bit on Facebook. And I'm looking forward to some of these topics tonight. We got a legal topic tonight, so I'm weigh in on that, and look forward to hearing from Jordan on the April Fool's topic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're our ringer for all things law. You know that, right?
I know that, so I like to see these topics.
Yeah. We're like, we don't understand this. What does this even mean? That's why we look at you, buddy. So let's go ahead. First off, before we kick it off, if you're drinking bourbon tonight, what are you drinking? Ryan, start with you.
What? Oh, I have a Boone County 12-year right now. Not a store. I got it at the distillery. It's fantastic. I'm on a new MGP kick, 10 to 12-year MGP kick. I don't care where it comes from, but anyways,
Speaking of MGP, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I got some a sample of Mic Drop straight bourbon 8.5 year that was sent to me, or sorry, 8 year 112 proof. So trying to kill some of these sample bottles.
Was that any good or?
So I mean, it's not. It's good. I mean, it's MGP, right? Like you're not gonna sit there and say like, there's not a whole lot of bad ones out there, especially in the an 8 year plus range. There's just not a whole lot of bad ones. Is it worth $100 a bottle? And that's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. Just because there's even other MGPs that are 8 years that are 20, maybe 30, maybe $40 less, right? So it's a tough pill to swallow in regards to that. I mean, when you look at anything that's even coming out from, I don't care whether it's OKI or something else, I mean, you're looking at a significant difference. And plus, it's pretty much rampant right now in New York, from what I understand. So if you're just putting around the streets in New York City, you can pop your head almost anywhere and find Mic Drop. So it's really only scarce for people outside of New York, from what I'm understanding right now.
Do you think we snuff our nose at MGP just because it's MGP, like these brands because it's MGP? Like, does that kind of discredit like a few points in our mind because it's sourced from there?
Well, I think it all depends on the price, because if it's MGP and it's at $100 a bottle, where you can find a lot of other MGP bourbon, that in my mind, that's the only snub there, because I think there's a pretty good benchmark of where MGP is. So then you're really talking about, did they do any finishing? Did they, is it $100 a bottle or whatever it is?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I remember it's about 3 years ago, there was MGP Rye that came out at the same time for Old Scout and Willet. And the Willet was $80 and the Old Scout was $40. And they're both 8 years, and I bought them both, and they were really similar. So I agree with Blake. I mean, you can find it for less than your 120, and it's all going to be good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just curious.
So what are you guys drinking on? Somebody else, speak up.
So I'm drinking on these little sample bottles, Cooper Cross Hybrid. So it's a mix of blend and bourbon and rye, right? So this is kind of a cool story. We did a review on this not too long ago. Eric mentioned it in one of his recent articles. Just a cool story of it's not going to be for everyone, as Eric talked about in his article, but it's a nice mixing, whiskey, which is exactly the target profile. It's interesting to sip on, be interesting to make a cocktail with sometime, but good chance to try something new.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that like Bourbon Truth's code word for it sucks?
No, it doesn't. I'll put it this way. So I'm sipping on it. It's not.
It would be good in a cocktail one more time.
No, I will say it's not. I mean, so, when we talked with the person who we've had the privilege of, I forgot the distiller's name, but the individual who owns this has been mailing us and sending us samples since the very beginning. So we've gotten to taste it over time. And as a sipping whiskey, there's not a lot of depth to it. I'll be the first to say it. But I would be interested to see how it holds up in a cocktail, seeing as that was one of his original goals. I think, not to deviate too much, but Eric just did a really good article on saying how not all whiskeys are made for you. And this was one of the whiskeys that he profiled. And you know what? It's not going to be for maybe a lot of us on this call, but for a lot of people out there who want like a hybrid or a good mixing whiskey, this is probably going to be for them. So it's worth a shot.
I mean, it kind of reminds me, if you guys are familiar with Ballantine or Ballatin, whatever it is, where it's like barely 40 proof, maybe 30 proof, something like that. But super heavy on just like the mixing notes, whether it's the chocolate or the cherry or whatever the hell they're mixing it with, right? So it's a completely different profile of people that they're really targeting than just the whiskey geeks like us out here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gateway.
So to transition from Jordan's point of whiskey made for you, OBSK is made for me, and I'm about finished with a Crown Liquors. That's a store out of Indianapolis. I got a 9-year, 9-month OBSK, and I haven't met a bad OBSK. I mean, these are made for me. Just really enjoying this one, and this one came in at 54%, and so I'm also a big fan of the lower tier Four Roses that come in at barely 100% or barely 50%, 100 proof. That's my sweet spot. This one's made for me.
You know, I think one thing that we've noticed recently, I don't know if you guys have either, is that OBSKs are starting to run a little rampant, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like that's the straight single barrel that goes out as just the normal 100 proof stuff that's on the shelves. But a lot of
it's OBSV.
OBSV is the normal one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I had my my head all mixed up, but it seemed like there's been a lot of OBSKs that have been
expert.
Yeah, there has, and there was about 2 years where they didn't have them. They wouldn't have them in the private barrel program, and so now they're coming back out. So I was excited to see that. I was getting pretty low on them.
Blake, what about you?
And I'm switching things up tonight. So I'm actually, if you've seen my Instagram, getting on a little bit of a brandy kick as well as a rum kick. So I'm testing out some samples from Tomfoolery, their Applejack, from Bourbon Buddy Ryan Lentz sent them to me. So I'm drinking through a couple of those right now. Pretty interesting.
Good luck.
Stuff. Yeah. That was like a good luck, like you're in for trouble. But, that wasn't a vote of confidence.
I would say that, you know, we had some samples as well, and we'll just say that it wasn't our favorite.
It's not for me.
The bourbon,
that Applejack's not for me.
Right, the Applejack. I wasn't a fan of it, but
I'm on to the Applejack finished in maple cask right now, and I can tell you,
Interesting.
the color is way different. The other two that I tried earlier were much lighter. I mean, barely straw color, but this is more of a
really dark,
a little darker.
Yeah, look how dark that is.
That's interesting.
And that has more of a bourbon nose, actually.
Well, I think if you're going to try to sell entire barrel, that's what you're going to need to find there, buddy.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, you had brought it up, and Blake, you put it out there as well, talking about Doc 52. I think let's take this in a different direction, not just how it tastes or anything like that, because it's all MGP, right? Now, the other thing that's
actually not MGP.
Oh, it's not. Okay, explain then.
That's, Blake, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's not stated, but it's highly hinted. I think it's Dickel, correct?
Yeah, it's an undisclosed Tennessee whiskey. So
Orphan barrel.
Yeah, there's I think only one undisclosed Tennessee whiskey that I can think of that's sourcing.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think Pritchard's has the capacity. I could be wrong, but what was interesting is, well, I think this was leading to a question, so I won't go straight into that. Was there a question coming up?
Well, no, keep going, because we can field it differently. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. What was interesting about this one is typically, when you get a lot of this, when you get a lot of the Dickel and from some of these other brands, you get very grainy, corn forward tasting bourbon, but I didn't get that from this one at all. I got much more of a spice, much more of kind of the MGP profile that I was used to. I don't know. Nick, what'd y'all think?
So actually Nick has the bottle right now.
I mean,
so
Jordan.
Yeah, we're all the same.
Wow.
So Nick has the bottle right now. He's working on sending out the samples to us. But that's one of the ones that we're actually, I think Eric will be doing the review. He's putting the review out in the next cycle of his reviews. We're all pretty excited by it, just because it's one of those stories. It's not uncommon, right? People start their own brand all the time. They source it out, but this is kind of cool. So it sounds, just by talking with the folks over email, they really have a passion for bourbon. This will not be a one-off release, right? And each release is planning on being a little bit different. It was a little bit lower barrel, I think 162 bottles, something like that, right? Yeah. So the one that we looked forward to, I kind of came out of left field, and those are the fun ones to try, and kind of, it's not MGP, so that's why I'm excited. It's not that there's anything wrong with MGP, but it's just a lot out there, right?
Yeah, I guess, do you guys think it's going in the right direction, where it takes something a little bit different? Because at this point, we haven't seen a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey in this category for a little bit, because it's either sourced from Indiana, now it's being sourced from Tennessee. You think people are going to be welcoming to it, or if people are going to be like, like NGP has a great track record, they have a great history, they've put out a lot of phenomenal stuff, and now we've got this other entrance in the market that's coming from Dickel in Tennessee. I mean, could we eventually see more of these? Are they going to have the same effect on the market? I'm kind of curious what you all think.
If it's good.
So I'll give my opinion, right? So just talking with the producers and the owners of Dock 52, right? It sounds like they have access to a lot of barrels, and they'll have a lot more choices and a lot of bottles coming out in the near future, right? Which is kind of, from what I hear, a little bit hard sometimes with MGP, right? It's not as abundant as it used to be, or like the prime barrels aren't as abundant as it used to be, right? So my personal theory, right, is as people get access to more and more, and maybe they have a little bit older age stock or a little bit higher proof, yeah, maybe they'll go after the Dickel. Plus, people just want to try something new after a while too, right? Just like us, right? I get on a Dickel kick, great. Get on an MGP kick, great. Like, you just kind of cycle through things. So I think it's a little bit refreshing in my book. I don't know. Maybe what's Blake think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And the way I think about it, I don't think they're trying to build the next huge whiskey brand. I assume they just want to sell it out of their store. And if I'm going to a store and it's like, okay, I could try this or that, and they say, hey, here's what we did. We sourced it from Tennessee, here's the logo on it and all of that kind of thing, I'm much more likely to buy that. And I think it's only like $50 or $60 a bottle.
Yeah, which is great.
To me, that is kind of a no-brainer. You get a solid bourbon for $50, barrel proof, 9 years old. I thought it was a great release. Yeah. So I think we could see a lot more of the Dickel or the Tennessee bourbon coming out with even more releases. I know, just talking to like a few like bourbon brokers and that kind of thing, I think there's a lot of it on the market, and it seems like Barrel has purchased a lot of it. Trying to think of who else may be sourcing some from the Tennessee bourbon. I think we'll just see more of it because there's still a lot of people trying to get in and grow in the market and say, hey, I want to start a bourbon brand.
I was about to say, I was like, people have been knocking on MGP's door forever. Maybe this is we'll just go in the other way, go the other direction and go talk to these guys. Right?
Head south a little bit. And it's good bourbon. There's no way around it. It is good. Is it the best thing ever? It depends from barrel to barrel, but overall, I think it's a good bourbon. It's a good place to start for a lot of brands.
Was there an age statement on it?
9 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got age.
So that's that's one of those things. It's 9 years, high proof, right? It's what, high 120s, I think, Blake? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it was.
Off the top of my head, something like that, right? And I think Blake said, as he mentioned, it's affordable. It's like the first release was going to be $45, $50.
Mm-hmm.
I think future releases might be $60, but geez, a 9-year bourbon, a 9-year barrel proof bourbon, right, for $50, we'll say. I mean, that's sure, you don't see that too often anymore.
I was going to say, Elijah Craig barrel proof is the next best option aside from some Four Roses barrel picks. Booker's is even kind of gone up. So
so is this going to be is a private label going to be our next step for the roundtable? I kind of like where this might be headed.
As long as you're the money man.
Yeah. Somebody's got to be.
Well, hi guys.
Just in time. 9:27.
Well, it's been fun, guys. See you,
Carrie. Where? What are those? The airline headphones? What's going on there?
The Delta official.
So for anybody, for all our audio listeners, we have Kerry that finally joined in. This is his first time coming back in almost 6 months. So welcome back, buddy. I hope you've been pumping out articles left and right.
Hey, that Buffalo Trace that I didn't pick out is so good, by the way. I'm really looking forward to selling those bottles.
Somebody's got to test the market.
Yeah.
I mean,
so, Kerry, real quick, just tell everybody who you are if they haven't heard you because they've only started listening 2 months ago.
Yeah, so they probably don't know who I am anyway. So this is Kerry from suburbia.com, SUBOURBIA.com. I don't write, but I do tweet. So follow me on Twitter at bourbon_gamer. And otherwise, you can find me, as usual, in the Bourbonr Facebook group, the greatest source of information on bourbon on the planet Earth.
There's somebody in the chat that said you are also just now starting to write your second blog of 2018.
No, I haven't started to write it. No, that's a lie.
That's awesome.
So we were kind of just talking about the little bit difference of people are starting to gravitate towards Dickel barrels for sourcing and stuff like that. But we can go ahead and kind of shift in a different direction now because we're almost 25 minutes in. But did you guys see any other good April Fools out there besides Breaking Bourbons? We'll talk about that one in a second, but
I just want to talk about breaking. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, the one I don't know if they've announced it as a full April Fool's because they're still going with it, but Westland Distilling out of Seattle or somewhere in Washington, they were doing like this whiskey sports drink thing, like a whole lead up to April Fool's, but like they're still on Instagram going with it today. So I'm like, maybe this wasn't April Fool's at all. Maybe. Yeah, hold on. Kevin Burke, Finkerhoff said,
all right.
Westland Sports Dram. Yeah. So what was the deal? Are they still going with it? Or, I mean, they were like all in. They had like
long play
labels and everything else. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of funny. It reminds me of
Kevin's
this.
saying it's a real release.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when you say that. That's I saw a picture that said on April 2nd, I'm still crying because my wife said she's actually still pregnant or something like that. Like it's not a joke anymore, right? So the other one. So the other one came out from Fred Minnick. He was doing Vodka Curious. If anybody saw that one, but it wasn't. I mean, you could tell right away it was April Fool's, right? It wasn't sold very hard, right? Now the one that was sold pretty hard, and for me, I actually started reading it at brunch, and I got about halfway down, and I was like, "Ah, shit, it's April 1st," and that was Breaking Bourbons, right? So I will. I don't want to ruin the surprise, so. Jordan, you go ahead and kind of talk about it. Yeah,
sure. So we really take April Fools pretty seriously, and we have the last few years, right? So last year was BreakingBourbon.com, and this year was Nesting Barrel. So Nesting Barrel is, and this to preface all this, so we didn't tell any of our family we were doing this. Nick's wife actually thought that we were releasing a brand, and and didn't realize that he didn't mention anything to her until she realized what date it was. I got a phone call from my dad going, "Were you planning on telling me that you guys are releasing a bourbon brand, or what's going on?" And I was like, "You do know it's April Fool's, right?"
Dad.
So that's a check mark of success in our book. So Nesting Barrel was a concept of kind of like the Russian nesting dolls, 6 barrels inside of themselves, a barrel resting inside of a barrel, resting inside of a barrel. And, it's aging 2 ways. It's aging inside of the barrel, outside of the barrel. They'd be single barrel products. And we maybe took it a little too far, had a fake TBB label. We did have real T-shirts, and we actually sold a few real T-shirts for Nesting Barrel.
Those are real?
That's awesome.
Yeah, we did. So they're still up on the site if anyone wants to.
I didn't realize that was real.
Oh, no, those T-shirts are real. They're still available. And, yeah.
So
that was a fun concept. Our goal is every year we debate if we should make it funny or serious. We end up going a little bit of serious, and then weaving in the funny parts that hopefully people realize that. We did have it explained to a few people who emailed us. We had actually the guy who created Copper Cross was wondering why we didn't reach out so you could help barrel this for us. So we had to explain
that one to him.
Explain that one to him, but
the key to April Fool's thing is to get early. You got to get in really early. I got in at our local beer group. I got in really early, and it's like up until about 10 a.m. you're going to get people. And then once they start seeing it, everyone has April Fool's posts, then cat's out of the bag. But for my beer group, I got in there at like 8:30, and until 10, it was fantastic.
What was the Fool's then?
It's kind of a insider joke on the board because the Atlanta beer community is a very, very large group, and there's a lot of negative talk. So I posted and said, the admins and I have talked, and anyone who says anything negative about a Georgia brewery will be kicked out of the group immediately, and we won't tolerate any altering opinions here. And people were like, "This is the worst board I've ever been in my life," and it was hilarious. I had a great time with it for an hour and a half.
You know, Jordan, one of the things that I really loved about it, because I got like halfway through. I mean, you guys went really in depth too. I mean, it had to spend at least a few hours writing this because it took a long time.
Oh, we had this going for at least a month beforehand. I
was going to say, in designing everything.
Yeah. Well, I will say Eric, who doesn't show up on the podcast too often, is a very talented graphic designer. So we just throw him stuff and he just comes up with it. So we're very thankful for that.
That's great, because I love the fact that you said, like, oh, we just keep recapturing the angel share.
Exactly.
As it keeps going, like we just keep recapturing.
It's, you know, how to find that extra little bit, take it up to notch 11. So for those people listening or on the chat right now, it's actually, you know, we archive these things. They're still on the website. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, go check out nestingbarrels.com. I'm sure hopefully someone creates something like this in real life, because that'd be cool to see. But
is that like a babushka doll? Like
no, that was the
like
it's a press release. That was the concept, like a Russian nesting doll, right? That was supposed to be the
Carrie is
the
just
premise.
getting it right now.
I am.
He just bought a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah. Is that so? This isn't legit, I guess, because I just put a bunch of money into it.
You just ordered a bunch of bottles.
Yeah, we'll pre-sell you some barrels for you.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and we'll switch to another topic. And this is looking at our resident lawyer here, because House Bill 400 has passed here it's going to pass. It's passed the House. It's passed the Senate. Now we're waiting for our governor to write it into law. But House Bill 400 allows shipping now from the distilleries, I believe also liquor stores, as well as basically you're allowed to now go and have a Bourbon of the Month club at your favorite distillery here in Kentucky. And they can ship you, I think, up to 12 bottles a year or 2 cases a year or something like that. I'm gonna defer to Brian for the legalities and some of the details and nuances to it. This episode of Bourbon Pursuit is made possible through listeners like you, supported through Patreon, and with partnerships brought to you by the following.
The State of Logic podcast is like no other. We don't have the same focus as so many other podcasts where we're just going to talk about business or politics or whatever. We talk about everything with everyone, intellectuals, comedians, and celebrities alike. Sometimes it's a 20-minute interview. Sometimes it's a 3-hour interview. But at the end of the day, it's a great conversation that we often laugh about and learn something from at the same time. Come check us out at the State of Logic podcast.
House Bill 400 has passed here it's going to pass. It's passed the House. It's passed the Senate. Now we're waiting for our governor to write it into law. But House Bill 400 allows shipping now from the distilleries, I believe also liquor stores, as well as basically you're allowed to now go and have a Bourbon of the Month club at your favorite distillery here in Kentucky. And they can ship you, I think, up to 12 bottles a year or 2 cases a year or something like that. I'm gonna defer to Brian for the legalities and some of the details and nuances of it.
With the disclaimer at the bottom, you know.
Yeah, this is not legal advice. All that, yeah, we'll start there. So yeah, this is huge. It's great for distilleries, maybe not so great for locals. I mean, we've all been lucky, I guess, for being able to get this ourselves. But maybe it's good for places like Woodford Reserve because they can get rid of all their Master's Select when people come from out of town to send it home. But I did buy. I was there last week for my brother-in-law's bachelor party, and I got 2 bottles of the 125 proof. So I'm a sucker again. I mean, I can't stop myself.
Yeah,
they got me again. Even after the 4-wood. I mean, I swore it off, but they finally did a barrel proof, so I'm back. But so I read the KDA statement on this, and the KDA said something like there's whatever it is, 1.2 million stops at the Bourbon Trail over a year. 70% of those people are from out of state, and 85% of the people that go to any of the Bourbon Trail distilleries buy a bottle. And with those people being out of state, it's probably limited to 1 bottle. And now they're going to be able to get, whatever the cap ends up being, multiple bottles and just ship them home and not worry about flying them home or anything else. So, I mean, this is a fantastic development for revenue. And what I hope it does is I hope it increases the gift shop selection and maybe a little bit of innovation. I mean, I know Woodford's really trying to innovate here, and so I appreciate that and hope that continues. But hopefully that means more selections at Four Roses that we keep seeing, that we especially saw with Rutledge, and we see some of that. And I think it'll be great development.
Yeah.
Did they say how it can ship? Like
in a box,
UPS,
probably.
FedEx?
That's the
like
caveat.
carrier.
Yeah, that's going to be the trouble, because right now you can't ship U.S. Post.
So there's technically, as of now, there's technically only 7 states that say, "Hey, ship to us, please." Yeah, I think it's 7, and then there's about another 20 to 23 or so that say, we don't really care. And then, then you kind of got your blacklist, like Texas, New York,
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, that they make it really tough to ship to. So the distilleries and everyone are still, it's still, they've got to conform to the state laws, but I think it's great. Yeah, I think it'll just continue to push other states to say, hey, look, why are we not doing this? And some of the maybe it opens up the USPS. Maybe we can get Trump on Twitter to stop hammering Amazon and open it up.
hey, by the way, tonight
be the distillery's delivery boy.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes ago, Mike Pence drove past me in a motorcade on our way to the hotel, which was really cool.
And you didn't get him on the podcast tonight?
Yeah, I thought that was
I tried.
Yes.
I yelled. I had my son flash him. It didn't stop his car. So, but it was actually really cool. It was really cool.
And so I guess another thing. I'm gonna mute that. So
Okay.
Another thing that
you stop it.
Carrie knows the trick, Kenny.
Well, there's background noise, and I don't want to edit it out. So the other thing that when I look at this, it's really cool in the fact that distilleries can start these month for the clubs or whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, do you guys really see them starting to take like special releases at distilleries and starting to ship those out as well? Because I'm not too sure I can see that happening.
I think it'll mainly be the craft guys. You'll see a lot of that, like the MB Rollins, the New Riffs, is New Riff in Kentucky? Hold on.
Yeah. Kentucky.
Yeah. Just underneath the border.
You'll see a lot more of those guys. I don't think Buffalo Trace cares if they can sell an extra, 400 cases a month by shipping it out by hand. I don't think they care. But, I think you will see a lot of these smaller craft guys, even a Willet. I don't think they care either, because
they don't need to bother.
All they got to do is open it up.
None of the big distilleries need to sell it through the mail. They just put it in the gift shop, tell people they got a rare release, and it's sold.
But if you have people traveling who they want to say, hey, I want to grab 6 bottles or whatever the limit is in Kentucky, but I know I can only carry on 3 bottles or whatever it is. Okay, we can ship that home for you. I think pretty much everyone will do that, because that just increases gift shop sales and
right. So and all you need to do is put a sticker on it that says it's a special release or something, and even if it's regular Buffalo Trace, you put a distillery sticker on it, and they'll sell it. And if you sell,
is that the rule, that it has to be a special?
No, it's not the rule. It doesn't have to be special. You can ship whatever you want, but to the point about are they gonna buy whatever they can buy at home? Probably not. But if it has a sticker that says I did the tour, whatever else, I was here, then they could sell a lot more. Even the big guys could sell a lot more.
So I think what's really interesting, at least the Bourbon of the Club of the Month was interesting, but I think what was really interesting is, so right now you're limited to 4.5 liters per person per day at a distillery of purchasing, right? So in 2021, that gets bumped up to 9 liters per person per day. So if you think about that, right?
I don't even know if I can drink 9 liters.
Wow,
in a day.
but
It would be
so places. It'll be interesting to see if more distilleries impose a bottle limit of purchases, right? Because 9 liters, I mean, think how many bottles it is going in, right? I know Will itself imposes a little bit and saying, certain bottles you can only buy maybe 1 of or 2 of, but you can buy other stuff up to 4 bottles or 4.5, whatever it is. But 9 is going to, I think, do 2 things. One, it's going to either force distilleries to pump out a lot more different brands or labels or something, just so you have incentive to buy all these bottles. And 2, the trend has been over the last 10 years, to see gift shops really take on a new importance at a distillery and really enlarge and really put a lot of money into it. I can only see that over the next 4 years or 3 years, really taking more of a precedence. And we're going to see some really cool gift shops, I think, at distilleries, just because they have the availability and the opportunity to sell a ton of bourbon now to folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen. Oh, sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Well, I agree that, I just think this is more for the craft and small guys. I'm not interested when we went to Napa, we only shipped back wine that we weren't able to buy here in Kentucky, from small wineries. All the other stuff, I'm like, why would I ship it back? I can find it, back home. So I don't know. It might benefit those people that live in areas where they can't get, I guess they can't get Heaven Hill 6 year, but I don't know if they'll ship that or, stuff like that.
But there's also people who, you see it on the Facebook groups and on Blake's Facebook group, they can't even find Buffalo Trace sometimes, right? People are like, oh, I can't find Buffalo Trace. Yeah. And all of a sudden, us, I can find it all the time, but other people might be like, yeah, give me 9 liters of Buffalo Trace. I love it. I'm going to ship it back. Right.
Yeah,
or I'm going out with my friends, so I'll do a big buy right now.
Perfect example in my local group. One of the Total Wine employees said, look what showed up today. And it's 2 cases of Buffalo Trace, and they have it sitting up front. But
it's behind the counter.
It's behind the counter, no lie. But the distributor, I guarantee you, is just limiting it on purpose. It's like, well, this is on allocation with Blanton's and whatever else. But if you're trying to buy Buffalo Trace, you may. Well, if you're trying to buy Buffalo Trace, join one of our premium pro memberships or Patreon or whatever it is. But no, man, that's a good example. And a lot of people, people just buy in the moment. You taste a few things, you're like, oh man, right. I love this. Yeah, just ship it back for me. So, I think that's a win for Kentucky.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Especially after the loss in March Madness, they needed a win. So let's
burn. I know.
Cold-blooded.
Florida lost in the second round. I have no room to talk. But
too soon. The other thing about this is that it also has a new operational aspect to it, right? You just can't start thinking okay, well, tomorrow we're just going to start shipping 250 bottles a day, right? That requires more people. It requires new processes. It requires all this sort of stuff, right? So it's going to be, I would say, a solid few more months until anybody has anything off the ground that's going to be even remotely close to representing something that you could do in Napa. And I totally agree with what Ryan said of saying that, I don't know. I know you guys are like, yeah, you can't get Buffalo Trace,
I think the most exciting thing is the liquor store aspect for me. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool for liquor stores here to be able to ship out as well.
But do they want to take the chance on something breaking, though, is my thing. I almost feel like for the rare stuff, the liquor stores, maybe barrel picks, they would, it's a good way to
that's what I'm excited for is barrel picks.
Yeah. I can see that. I just think
sell themselves. Those are gone.
Depends what you're buying too, right? If you've ever bought Asters out of New York City, they give you the option of buying insurance before you ship it out, right? And it's pretty cheap. And you know what? They send their stuff pretty bomb-proof, so I bet that's almost a moneymaker for them. But I'm sure they pay out now and then. But I'm sure people will find a way to make a buck like that too.
But this also is a little bit different, right? If you're talking to a good store here in Louisville, say Westport Whiskey and Wine, or you're looking at Ed Blythe and Cork and Bottle, they don't need to ship. They sell out their store picks in 48 hours, right? Now, when you look at things like Total Wine or Liquor Barn or Party Mart or some of these other really
there's
big
barrel
chain
picks
stores
that sit there for for weeks, for years.
I mean, they just because they don't have the reputation of something that's small, something that people care about. It's just this big box brand, right? I mean, I think that's what people really think about.
That's about to change.
We'll see. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But you know, it's just one of those things that I could see that stores would be open to doing that. I'm sure that. I mean, we talked about it before on the podcast. We had K&L as well as Lewis from A Spirits on. You know, online business is a huge business, right? If you can get bottles to people where they don't have to leave the house and you can get it to them faster, like I mean, you're becoming the Amazon of liquor. Like that's essentially what you want to become, because that's going to keep you relevant in this next digital age, right?
Oh, I guarantee when Benny's had to stop shipping, they took a huge hit. Right, because they're a huge store chain in Chicago. For those that don't know, Benny's, but they used to ship, and that was a go-to for a lot of people. And then when they got cut off, I'm sure that was a big blow for them. So
did they get cut off because of the Illinois rulings or something else?
I thought they got basically nailed by it was one of the major shippers cut them off, so they just said we can't do it anymore. I want to say it was something with FedEx. Right. But that just goes to show, I mean, like we shouldn't kid ourselves. Like shipping online that's pretty profitable for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's you have that, you've got local delivery services that are popping up everywhere. So it's pretty good about that. All right. So I kind of want to move on to one more subject, and then we kind of want to wrap it up with, because Carrie wants to talk about something as well. So there is a new release that's coming from Buffalo Trace called Craft Your Perfect Bourbon. For those that are behind it or know about it, this is a new W.O. Weller bourbon. It's made from, of course, the wheat recipe. It's aged 8 years on the top floors of the warehouses and bottled at 95 proof. It is a bourbon which best fit into what over 100,200 bourbon drinkers voted most over the past 2 years on their website. It's a, let's see, blah, 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 blah.
Did anyone vote?
Well, that's what I was about to ask. First off, before I finish this up, it's supposed to be somewhat limited. One batch of this new bourbon will be released each year beginning this summer. Recommended price is around $40 for a 750 milliliter. And then, you know, as I said, it was a survey that was done online where people could craft their bourbon. I want to know who said they wanted 95 proof Weller.
Yes.
Nobody.
This is ridiculous. We all want barrel proof.
I would like to see the raw data on this one, and I get it. It's kind of cool, like to craft your own bourbon. I went through the process. I mean, I feel like it was a year or so ago now, and it was cool. But once I started seeing it advertised on Facebook and everything, hey, come craft your own bourbon from Buffalo Trace, I figured something had to be coming because they dumped a lot of money or time or effort into that website because it was a really nice looking website, but. I don't know. I'd love to try it, but
don't worry.
What was your perfect mash, Blake?
Yeah, my perfect mash was not 95 8-year-old Weller. So I don't know. I mean, it's a little gimmicky for my taste.
Isn't it always like wheated? I mean, it's a wheated bourbon, isn't it?
Oh, I believe that most people said, hey, I want a wheated bourbon because, you know, they want that.
But isn't Weller a wheated bourbon to begin with?
Sure.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's under the Weller line is because it's I just have a hard time believing that everyone said, the majority of 100,000 people said they wanted it at whatever, 95.
Between 90 and 99 is what most people said, which I don't believe.
I don't believe.
I don't believe that either. The packaging looked good.
I said I want Pappy 28, and they didn't listen to me.
Because even people who aren't really into bourbon, they're gonna really jack up the age and that kind of thing. So,
well, you'll at least say 100 proof. I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't see anyone going under 100.
Bond or something. I mean, even if you don't go barrel proof.
It's still so limited. They're not sending samples, which means that it's in the same, probably like less than 1,000 bottles or something.
Let's not kid ourselves though, because it's also national release.
Yeah, it's a national release. I have a feeling there's going to be like 40.
There's a lot of it. They're just not sending out samples.
No, because they would. That's bull crap. They
They
would
don't
not
need to send. They don't need to
I don't
send
think
out
they care to
samples.
send samples.
That's
on
the
this
bottom
one.
line.
They don't need to.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, Weller Special Reserve at 95 proof.
That's exactly what it is.
And
That's
with the
what it
difference,
One more year on it.
But
And,
it has
and
a
they'll
gold,
have they'll have a
foil
profit
cap.
margin that is 4 times what they have now. I mean,
pouring
They
a
know how to
little
do
less
it.
water in there
Yep.
than the green label.
What's Weller? 90 Special Reserve.
I think it's
90.
No, is it 90? I thought it was like 94. But maybe not.
Yeah. So
I drank so little of it, I don't know.
I think I just recreated a stag release whenever I went through it.
The 2015 stag.
Lower rye, middle 15 years, middle of the warehouse, and I don't know why they didn't take my suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, it is, Blake, you kind of make a good point, though, about saying they're not very transparent with their data. I mean, let's roll us back a few years ago when there was the Single Oak project, right? And all of a sudden it's like, here's our winner.
You're like, I didn't even know this was going on.
Yeah, some people, had no idea. We just saw these little tiny miniature bottles out and said, well, $90, sure, I'll take one, right?
I think I saw like 2 releases here in Louisville. And that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, the same exact thing, right? There was really no transparency of the data behind it, of people saying like literally, like, here's the graph, this is what people wrote in. Like there's none of that. They just came out with a press release, right?
It's weird. So Buffalo Traces, I mean, they're not a company they're a company, so let's take that into fact, right? But I think so they're really transparent sometimes with their data, right? So like the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection.
The letters that come out with
letters
antiques.
that's above and beyond. You can email Mark Brown. Anyone can email Mark Brown. He'll usually respond as long as he's willing to. He gives you more information than not. They're pretty transparent. But then for other stuff, they're not transparent at all. And it's the stuff that you're like, wait a second, this should be pretty simple. Like how big is this release?
What's your mash bill?
What does that mean, right? First, like today, we got the press release for the OFC. They're doing the 3 new years, right?
Yeah.
And they straight up say there's only going to be 180 bottles, I think, between 3 years, right? It's like they're more transparent there. It's like they're really selective in their transparency, which is weird because it's going to be hot. Like it's going to be a hot seller no matter how much data they release. So it'd be nice if they would just at least give their fans a little bit more data than not, because there are a lot of just data geeks out there, and it's fun to know.
Kevin Brinkerhoff had a good comment. They said they didn't let me pick wild turkey, so I couldn't craft my own bourbon.
That's pretty good.
That's a good comment, Kevin.
And that's where I think you're right, they pick and choose, but it doesn't make any sense to most people who we get kind of accustomed to. Hey, they on the BTIC releases, we can pull out all kinds of information, and then all of a sudden it's like you ask about some other brand, it's like, whoa,
Don't go.
yeah.
Did you see the retail? The retail on those bottles is $2,500 from Buffalo Trace.
This is OFC, by the way. That's what Carrie's talking about.
Yeah.
Didn't
$2,500.
somebody predict that the OFC charitable bottle was just kind of like a Trojan horse for them to release?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that.
Exactly what it is.
Okay, since everybody's agreeing to it, I probably said that, so I'm going to say that. No, but I mean, it's what was it? 162 bottles, $2,500.
Yeah.
What's that? $2 billion. How much is that?
So for those that haven't
your
seen,
accountant, Brett, like
for those that haven't seen the press release,
the charity was a really cool thing that they did.
Okay,
They raised a lot of money.
charity got a bottle. Okay, we get it.
I did. I got a bottle of it. We sold it. It made some money for a fine arts program at our private school, which is awesome.
we did the same thing.
Great.
It was great.
It's great. Yeah.
But did you actually get to try it though?
No, God, I was so pissed too.
Oh yeah, I'd have been like, it's lost, man. I'm sorry, we'll give you half your money back.
You got to break the seal when you saw it.
Yeah, that's where you should.
It raised $700. It was so awesome. I could take being on the low end of that bell curve. That's fine.
All right, so I guess that'll kind of wrap it up for the Weller thing, unless anybody else has anything else to add to it.
No.
all right, no.
I
Not
can't
looking
wait to
forward to
buy 5 of them.
Because Atlanta always hits and you're just everywhere to scoop them all up. So
this is true, yeah.
But you're not in Atlanta tonight. So, Carrie, where are you at tonight? And I know you wanted to talk about a special place you visited this week, too.
I am in the District of Columbia, which, by the way, we all couldn't figure out what Columbia has to do with this place here. Does anybody know? Like, what's the history? Why was it called District of Columbia?
Yeah, because there's a big cocaine trade, and it was
with George and Thomas.
He sounded so smart at first, like we were really going to believe.
Yeah,
him.
I know, man. Bert Blake.
NFL tight end and a historian.
Y'all know what I'm here for. I'm not here for the history side of things. Brian, take it away.
So anyway, we're here in D.C. on a family trip. I stopped at Abraham Bowman on the way up. It's in Lexington, Virginia, just a little bit south of here. It was an interesting little visit. It's definitely a smaller distillery. You know, they're actually leasing office space there, which makes me wonder if they're not doing so well.
Well, they're owned by Sazerac, though, right?
They are, yeah, which I found interesting that they were leasing office space, but little underwhelming of a visit. Very nice people there, but not that exciting. Nothing exciting in the gift shop, but didn't get to take the full tour, but cool stop nonetheless. But the place I wanted to talk about was Jack Rose Saloon. I think anybody who's in bourbon has heard of Jack Rose Saloon up here in D.C. They have the largest, they claim, to have the largest whiskey selection of any place in the Northern Hemisphere. And so I went and I saw, I mean, it is wall to wall. I mean, ladders that they have to push around to get the bourbon out. And I'm like, how does a place like this keep so much good whiskey in stock? And then I got the pricing menu. And I'm like, no kidding.
You're like, I'm not a lobbyist.
I got 2 mixed drinks. I didn't even order a bourbon. Our bill was still like $10,000 for a family of 4, and I got 2 mixed drinks. I people talk about it all the time, and they do have some really cool stuff. But damn, those prices, man! Come on, they ain't got that kind of money. We're just bloggers.
We've had these conversations before, right? I mean, and this is one that it's a podcast we've recorded. We got something that's going to be coming out a long time from now, but essentially they have to look at replacement costs, right? I mean, if you're going to sit there and drink 86 proof 1980 Old Taylor, well, they've got to replace that at some point, right? And so they've got to price it at the point where they can make a profit, pay for their fire and flood insurance as well as replace it, right? I mean, there is overhead costs, all these things. So, when it is kind of funny when people are, I mean, you're not necessarily going to go to any of these bourbon bars around the nation and find a steal unless it is literally like they have no idea what they're sitting on. But if you go to a place like that where they specialize in this, like they know what they have.
DC is just expensive in general. I've been there and it is, I mean, everybody's got to go because it's the thing that blows my mind is that you can literally like touch the bottles on the wall. You're sitting in a booth and you're like, what? I can grab these bottles, but it's pretty. It's an awesome place. I highly recommend it.
So it is cool, and I will say that the food actually surpassed what I was expecting for the place. We had some really good food, and I'd go back. The prices were beyond what I mean. I'm sure there's some guys out there that can take a business client out and expense a whole bunch of that, but I just couldn't justify spending $100 or $1,200 for Linnell Red Hook or Red Eye.
Red Hook Rye.
Yeah, holy cow.
1,200.
I like Red Eye. We should
Red Eye. Yeah.
Yeah, Red Eye. And it's funny because the wife actually said, "Get what you want." I'm like, "Should I get the Linnell?" She's like, "Sure, go ahead." I was like, "Well, it's $1,200 for 2 ounces." She said, "No."
You just got the 1 ounce pour then. See, there you go, half off.
It's only $600.
We had a bottle of that at the Jim Rutledge Crohn's Society event a year and 2 years ago.
Did you try
I mean, and I tried. I mean, there are pours for it. I mean, it's fantastic, but $1,200, no.
I've done many raffles for that for like $100 for a spot, just for for a sample.
Yeah,
and lost many times.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what is this? Just real quick, what's the history of it? Is it Van Winkle before Van Winkle?
It's a Willet.
It's a Willet. Yeah. It's
one of the early.
So you go to
early
Willet
ryes.
and you get that 25-year rye from a few years ago, and it's essentially the same thing.
And so it's what's I guess our bars in Red Hook, Brooklyn, or New York,
Yeah,
or
it's in
wherever it is.
Brooklyn.
Linnell's
Widow
yeah.
James.
Yeah, and like she had a bar, did this private bottling, and yeah, because that was around the same time all the Iron Glove, Iron Fist, Iron Maiden, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Willet.
So Blake, if you get to try those ryes, one of
Don't
those,
I have them.
yeah, try the darkest one and see what you think.
Or save it for your kids' college tuition. One or the other.
Yeah. I'm just gonna pawn it. Okay, I got 2 ounces of Linnell's for $1,000.
We had a little bit of shade thrown our way, but it's kind of funny, right? He said, Jason Jones said, dudes complaining about bars and distilleries cashing in the bourbon boom, while each of these people have websites selling terrible t-shirts, asking for Patreon money, even one dude trying to sell a book. So,
Hey, Jason.
kind of funny.
Jason, I
It's a
got
great
nothing.
book, really. It's a great book.
Jason Jones, I got nothing going on right here, man. If you want to just send me PayPal, I'll take it. I'm not peddling anything yet.
It's funny. I think it is a funny. But you're also on vacation, right? YOLO. Just go get something, right?
Yeah, I will.
Buy whatever you want, Kerry.
Get those Southwest points.
Thank you. Thank you. When I sell these Bourbon Roundtable Buffalo Trace picks, I'll be able to go back over there. Get some Linnell Red Hook.
But it'll at least pay for something, right? Maybe a shot of mellow corn, something like that.
I actually saw Old Crow Reserve for $12 for a 2-ounce pour. It's like, yes. That's my jam.
Does Jack Rose have our pick there?
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's going to be.
We're working on it. It will happen. So I guess that is a good thing to maybe we can't announce it, maybe we couldn't announce yet. But so Ryan, you wanna kind of share the news a little bit?
Oh, I didn't know I was transitioning. That's awesome.
Good setup.
All right, which information?
If it will be on the our pick will be on the Jack Rose menu at some point.
Oh yes. Yeah, we spoke. With Bill and I are friends, and Kenny, we all hung out last week. But yes, the Buffalo Trace pick, he wanted like 2 cases, but we could only give him 12 bottles. So there will be 12 bottles at Jack Rose's. And in any other future picks, he does want a couple cases of each to sell there. So we will be on the menu at some point, which is pretty cool.
I got like 5 I could send up that way.
Well, sweet. I'll keep mine. My 5 and take yours.
Could you autograph your name next to your picture on that one, Kerry?
I'm so low on the label, I don't think I have room.
Just take a razor blade and just cut that part out.
It's a really great bottle, guys. I mean,
It's really good.
I'm an interested party, so don't believe me, but it is a fantastic bottle.
Yeah, it is really good.
It's the best Buffalo Trace.
I mean, it might not be like a drunk buffalo sticker, but we'll see how it does.
You guys did really well. I'm impressed.
And you'll have to wait for that one for a future podcast where we did a blind tasting MC Buffalo against ours as well.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So that will be a future podcast coming out. So stay tuned for that. But that'll be enough. That'll wrap up tonight. So I want to say, fellas, thank you again for coming on the show. But as usual, I want you to go around the horn and everybody can kind of give a plug about where they blog, where you can find you. And Kerry, I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Thank you.
Last one in, first one out.
Kerry from bourbonr.com and Suburbia, SUBOURBIA.com. Find me on Twitter. You'll find me around. I'll write an article pretty soon. It'll be great. Love you guys. Good to catch up with you. We'll see you soon.
We'll catch you in 6 months, buddy. It's been great.
See you next year.
He dropped out.
Drop the mic.
It's like he forgot that we hang around afterwards, but whatever. Go ahead, Brian. You go ahead next.
All right. Brian with Sippin' Corn. You can find me mostly on the blog is Sippin' Corn, but also on Twitter, a little bit on Facebook. And I appreciate the comments tonight. Looking forward to the Bourbon Justice book. I turned in my last edits about 2 weeks ago. So now it's all just production and printing and those sorts of things. Really excited about it. November 2018. Look for it. Bourbon Justice. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Nick, go ahead.
Jordan,
Same thing.
I know. I'm telling you, I'm just glad I'm not the only one who made this. I almost got him Eric earlier too. I'm like,
Jordan,
we're just feel like
just interchange the three of us. So this is no worries. This is Jordan from BreakingBourbon.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon at Breaking Bourbon. Sign up for our newsletter, and more importantly, make sure you check out the website. We do a release calendar, which is super helpful, getting updated more often throughout the week, almost daily now. So if you're interested in what's coming later on this fall or what's coming 2 weeks from now, make sure to check out the site.
And Blake, round it out, buddy.
I am Blake from Bourbonr. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now YouTube. I have taken a couple months off from the Bourbonr blind tastings, but they'll be back up and running soon. So make sure to check those out. And thanks for watching, everyone. Been a lot of fun.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you joining tonight. Make sure you're following them on all their social media channels. Make sure you're following us as well. Bourbon Pursuit on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you like what you hear, make sure you support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. We just rolled out, if you saw on Facebook or Instagram, we have all the new stuff with t-shirts and koozies, the ones that we're wearing tonight. Barrel picks, we're starting to get into those now. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. So if you have any other show suggestions, people you want to hear from, feedback, go ahead, send us an email, hate mail, whatever it is, theduo, THEDUO @bourbonpursuit.com. And with that, everyone, we will see you all next week.